if you want to write your name, you will get one rectangle box that we say the text box. Suppose if you do any mistakes in any of the fields, so then you can start re-entering the data. Whenever you say input type radio, it defines radio buttons. These are called radio buttons. Whatever the action or the result of the submit button will be displayed in the current window. Dear students, welcome to CS classes. I am Ravi Kumar KR, lecturer in computer science, Vidhyaashram PU College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. Let us start our discussion with one more HTML tag, that is form tag, or that is forms. Now, what are forms in HTML? Forms or HTML form is a section of a document which contains text field, password field, checkboxes, radio button, etc. HTML form facilitates the user to enter data that is to be sent to the server for processing, such as names, address, username, and password, phone, etc. Students, now most of you are familiar with website, and if you looking for any admission in any of the other colleges, normally what you do is you are going to visit the particular website, isn't it? So once if you visit the website, there might be an option will be available to send your application or to submit your applications, or you have to fill the application. Nowadays, almost all applications are online application. So once if you open that particular application form of any of the college, school, whatever it is, so there you can come across or they can see so many different fields. For example, you may have to fill the username, password to register. First, we may have to register your email account with the particular website. There you may have to enter details, username, password, etc. Then you have to click on submit button. After that, you may start filling the details of yours, like name, father name, mother name, date of birth, and your hobbies, and your sections, combinations, or so many things. For all these things, the fields are not same. For example, if you want to write your name, you will get one rectangle box that we say the text box. So that is a place where you are going to write the name of yours, and there is a limit for this. It is only accept few characters. Similarly, you come across username, again similar to it. Password field. If you look at the password field, whenever you are going to enter password, it appears as a star characters. That is one of the properties of one of the form element. Similarly, if you want to come across or if you want to select your hobbies, there you may have to come across square boxes. There you have to tick your options. That is one of the form element. Similarly, suppose they may ask you to select combination, either maybe you have a science or commerce stream. You may find a small round buttons, they are called radio buttons, and you may have to select any one of them. At last, after completing the information in the application form, you may find submit button. So as soon as you click on that, the particular information, whatever you have filled online, it goes to a concerned person or to a concerned department. So all these are possible because of web forms, or what is a electronic forms. So if you observe those things, so your web forms or electronic form, it contains so many different fields. As what you have seen in the definition, it may be a password field or a text field, a radio button, and checkboxes. So, and what is the advantage of this? See here, what is the form? HTML form facilitate the user to enter the details. So all the details, it's supposed to go to the concerned department. So that is electronic forms or web form. So here in this form tag, we are going to learn few of the form elements and the syntax and examples. Now this is web forms. Now we look into the components of the form. What I have told you just now, if you look at any of the forms, web forms or electronic form, we may come across so many fields. All these are individual independent fields. All are different. One is text field. Normally we use text field to enter your name, father name, mother name, everything, and there is a limit for this. It takes only one line of input. So text field is the one. It takes only one line of input, and there is a limitation for number of characters in the text field. Now password field. Next, all of you are familiar with the password field. Password field, you can find out whatever you're going to type, it appears as a star. That is one of the properties of this form element password field, where you are going to enter password. Next, text area. This is a text field and text area. Text field, as I told you just now, it takes only one line of information. Now, if it is a text area is a rectangle or it is space. So here you can give information in number of lines. That is the difference between text field and text area. Next, look at the checkbox. Check boxes are nothing but a square boxes or where the user has to select number of options, maybe a hobbies, or it may be a number of options for different combinations, anything. So here user has to tick. We say we have to check the boxes or we have to tick the appropriate option for us. That is check boxes. And here radio button. What are radio button? Radio buttons, it comes in the form of circles, in the form of a small button that is called radio buttons, where the user has an option to select any one option from the 2 or 3 options. But if you look at check boxes, the checkbox you can have multiple options or the user can opt for more than one options. But only in radio button, the user has to opt only one option. That is the difference between checkbox and radio button. Next, one of the form element is drop down menu. What is drop down menu? See, you might have come across in any of the forms, that is for country. If you click on the right hand side small button, it display so many country names, isn't it? So you have to select any one of this. That is the meaning of the drop down menu, where the user has an option to select one option among many options in the list. That is drop down menu. Submit button and reset button. What is submit button? Submit button at the end means after completely fill the electronic forms, then we have to click on submit button so that it goes to the concerned department or concerned section for processing. So there will be, you find a button, that is the submit button. Next one is reset button. What is reset button? Suppose while filling your application forms, if there are 10 or 15 fields will be there. Suppose if you do any mistakes in any of the fields, so then you can start re-entering the data or you can start refilling all the information in the form from the beginning after click on this reset button. So what is reset button? The reset button is one more form element. The function is it reset all the values to the 0 values or it make it a blank application form. That is the use of reset button. See, these are all different components we can make out or we can see in e-forms or web forms. Now let us see the definition syntax of few of the form elements. Now here form element, one is input element. What is input element? Here look at the example. Input type equal to text. If input type equal to text, it defines one line text input. Means it's going to define one line text input where you normally we used to enter your name, address, father name and so on. And second type is input element type equal to radio. It defines radio button as we have seen in the previous slide. So radio button, if you want to define radio button, we used to make use of input type equal to radio. That is input element. Now input type equal to submit. This is the input element. The value is submit. It used to submit the application form at the end. So this is one of the form element is input. We have to make use of input tag to define different types of form elements. Now let us see an example here. Text box. This is a text box. How to define the text box? Here, form is the tag. This is a closure tag here. Here, first name and colon BR. As you know, what is BR tag? It is line break tag. So first it display first name text. As we can see in the example, first name. Because of BR, the control goes to next line or information will be displayed in the next line. So what would be that? Input type equal to text. As we have seen in the previous slide, input element type equal to text, and here name is one of the attribute of the form elements where it display the first name. Here name equal to first name, and we are closing the tag. So here the first name is the name for this text element. So BR, again second name, this is the second name, BR tag, input type equal to text, name equal to second name. So because of input type equal to text, this is the element. Because of this, it defines one more text box. So text box is one of the form element where the user can input the information in a single line. For example, your first name, second name, username, maybe your father name, mother name, etc. Now look into the another button. This is called radio button, one of the form element. What is radio button? Now you can see the example here. This is how the radio button will be in electronic forms or in web forms. So here, as we have seen the syntax in the previous slide, input type equals to radio. So whenever you say input type radio, it defines radio buttons. These are called radio buttons. And here, this is a name attribute, is the gender, value equals male, checked male. This is how we use. Here, what is the meaning of this? Input type equal radio, it defines one radio button, and the name is gender. It displays gender. This is for gender. Either the user has to select either of this, either male or female. Gender, value equals male. Here, whatever you are going to write the value for this option, value is male. That is a value, and just checked male here. So whatever you are going to write here, it will be displayed here as a male. So whenever you say input type equal to radio, it defines one radio button. So next line, again same thing, input type equal to radio, name equal to gender, value equals female. Here the second one, value, second radio button will be assigned the value female, and this is value equal to female, and here female. So this is what is going to display here. So this is how to define radio buttons in HTML form. So here the user have an option to select only one option from the list, from the values given. So this is radio button. Next, one more form element, that is checkbox or checkbox control. Now you can see the square boxes here. There are three options. User has an option to select all the three. We say we have to check. So if you click on that, you will get one tick mark. That is the meaning of checked, or that is check button. That is checkbox. So here reading, cycling and swimming, user can select any of the option here, or he can also select all the options. But this is different from radio button. In radio button, user has an option to select only one option. Now look at the syntax of this and definition. It is used when more than one option is required to be selected. Just now I told the definition. Look at the syntax here. Input type equal to checkbox. This is the checkbox. Name equal to reading. See, this is what we are going to define. One checkbox for reading, and value is on, checked reading. So what is the meaning here? Input type equal to checkbox. So whenever you say input type equal to checkbox, it defines one checkbox and the name is reading. So we are getting a reading, one checkbox. And similarly, there is no BR tag. So it will be next checkbox appear on the same line. So here input type equal to checkbox, name equal to cycling. So checkbox, one box is defined for the value is cycling, and similarly for next one that is called, that is third checkbox, name of checkbox, value is swimming, swimming and checkbox. Here this is the syntax and definition of checkbox where the user has an option for selecting any number of options or all the options available. Next, we move on to one more tag, that is submit button. See here we say radio button, check boxes, text field. Now it is submit is a button. So input type equal submit. We have seen the definition in our previous slide. It defines a button for submitting the form data to a form handler. See, as soon as we have, if we click on submit button, as I told you in my previous slide, it goes to concerned department, concerned section, or concerned server, wherever it is. That is because of form handler. So what is a form handler? Form handler is typically a server page with a script for processing the input data. So whatever the data we have filled in e-form, it goes to, or we submit to the particular server page. And the form handler is specified in the form's action attribute. Normally we use this form handler in action attribute. Now, for example, syntax is input, type equal to submit, value equal to submit. So it is going to define one submit button. Now, let us say some of the attributes we can make use of in form tags. One of the attribute is action attribute. It defines the action to be performed when the form is submitted. As I told you just now, when you click on the form, it goes to concerned department through form handler, and that is defined by action attribute. Now, normally the form data is sent to a web page on the server when the user clicks on the submit button. And what is the syntax of that? It is form action. This is the attribute we used in form tag. So form action equal to this is a syntax, and if the action attribute is omitted, the action is sent to the current page. So this is, suppose if you don't use this action attribute in the HTML coding, by default it goes to the current page. So this is about action attribute. It defines action to be performed when the submit button is clicked. Next one is target attribute. It specifies if the submitted result will open a new tab or a frame or in the current window. What is a target? So once if you click on submit button, the result of this, where we have to display the result. So that is about target attribute. So those display information can be displayed maybe in a new tab or maybe a new frame or in the current window. That is the use of a target attribute. Now the default value is self, which means the form will be submitted in the current window. If I say self is nothing but whatever the action or the result of the submit button will be displayed in the current window. To make the form result open in the new browser tab, have to use the value blank. This is one of the value. The form action is, this is the syntax, form action equal to this is the target page, target equals blank. If I say blank, it opens the result in new browser tab. So this is one of the attribute is target attribute. Next attribute is the method attribute. So what is this method attribute? The method attribute specifies the HTTP method. Here there are two options. One is get or post to be used when submitting the form. So as soon as you click on submit button, or in other way, when you submit the form, so what action has to be taken? Those things will be defined in method attribute. Here the syntax is this. Here method equals to get. Either we can make use of either get or post. Look at definition. If you say get, the default method when submitting the form is form data is get. This is the default. And when get is used, the submitted form data will be visible in the page address field. So here the result of this content will be appeared in the web page. If you use post here, it always use post if the form data contains sensitive or personal information. So the post method does not display the submitted form data in the page address field. Here there are two options for us. One, we can see or we can display the information. It can be visible or invisible. So if you want to make it visible to the user, we are using here get function, or we are using post if we want to make the data or the result to be invisible or not to be known to all the users. So this is one of the attribute that is called method attribute. Next attribute, that is name attribute. Each input field must have a name attribute to be submitted. So here, as we have seen, the input attribute. If you look at this example here, we say input type equal to text, name equal to first name. So this is what we are talking about, name attribute. So this name equal to first name, the meaning is that the value we are giving to this text box is as a first name. That is the name attribute. Here, if the name of the attribute is omitted, the data of that input field will not be sent to all. This is one of the options. And attributes, how do we use it here? As just now we have seen the example, text input, size and maximum length, password, controls. These are the attributes. Example, user ID, input type equal to text, name equal to user ID. This is the use of name attribute. And here password, we say for password, input type equal to text here, name equals to password. So this is an example for how to make use of this name attribute. In this session, I have explained what are HTML forms and different components of HTML forms, and we have learned few syntax and definition of electronic forms or web forms. Thank you very much.